So I'm coming back around to this one. I had some kid, I don't know about kids, probably early 20s, bugging me on Instagram to elaborate on a post I made, which you can follow me on Instagram at JamesPhillip313 to see some of my insights and writings. But I made a post about how to make more money, and people were inquiring about, side hustles and side gigs. And I said, how about you double down on your main gig? And a few people asked to elaborate on that. So I'm not hating on side jobs. I did that probably for half of my adult life, where if I go back to being a teenager, right, 12, 13 years old, I'm already working two jobs, sometimes three jobs, and I finally got into the tech world in my late teens. Still, like, I'm consulting over here and I'm doing something else over here. I'm trying to make as much money as possible because I had no money. There's no money coming from my family. There's no hand-me-downs. There's nothing, right? It's starting from the bottom for real, not like Drake. So I've always had that mentality. I eventually turned my side gig into a main gig. That was the tech stuff that I loved as a teenager. Read every book that I could. I used to sit on the floor of Walden Books. The general manager, as long as I left everybody alone, I could sit on the floor and they'd let me read any book. And I would just sit in there for hours, almost every day, every weekend that I could, reading every tech book that I could get my hands on. When I had money, I bought some of them. And I turned my little hobby passion into becoming an expert in certain fields of IT and then being able to make a bunch of money. Whole other lesson there. And hit subscribe, because I'm probably going to do a whole series on this. But, that I turned kind of a passion hobby into real work, and then once it became real work, I hated it. So I'll come back to that one. So I think it's okay to do a side job or have a side hustle when you plan on trying to make that into your full-time gig. And again, we'll come back to that at some point. To elaborate on the post on Instagram, I see a lot of people that I'll use a buddy in sales, for example, where they kind of start work late every day. They supposed to work till 5, and this is sales, right? No one really makes it in sales working just 40 hours. Sales is a tough gig if you want to be successful in the long run, but it does pay a lot of money. But starts a day late, mentally checks out by 4 o'clock, running for the door at 5 o'clock, and they're on to doing these other little side hustles. They got one or two things that takes their time up after working weekends. Those side hustles might make him $500 a month to maybe $1,000 a month in extra money. Let's just say 10 grand a year. And I'm like, look, dude, like, if I'm looking at your commissions where you're at right now in sales, if you actually got your butt into work early, like you should, if you really push the tempo at work and try to close as much business as possible, push all the way to 5 o'clock, and you can get home and like do your stuff with the kids and still crack your laptop open at 8 or 9 and get emails taken care of. Like, if you really, the time that you would have spent at the side hustle anyways, if you would have just doubled down on your main gig, he probably would make another $30,000 to $40,000 in commissions and salary bumps. Which, if he had like a 2-year successful run of that, and look at someone that owns multiple companies, they own recruiting companies, they own career consulting companies. If you see a salesperson that's bouncing around every 9 months, they're usually not a good salesperson. Show me 2 years and have the metrics and KPIs to back it up and say, hey, here's 2 years where I hit my numbers or exceeded them. That's going to really open up job opportunities for you. So not only, if he would have doubled down on his main gig, he could have just made more money than the side hustles. He could have set himself up for the next job. Probably got an even greater base and maybe even more commission, or getting into something that just has more earning potential, maybe in the software ERP area or other parts of SaaS, things that have just bigger ticket items that you can sell and make money on. Um, and it's not like he sells copiers. It's just that you can climb this ladder where you can make $250,000, $300,000 a year if you're a high level salesperson. Nope, too busy screwing around with this little money. It's a little money, a couple $100 there and a couple $100 here, and it's like we get caught up in this Gary V sexiness of the side hustle and the grind. Look, man, I don't really know many people that are working 40 hours that are making like a buck 50, 200 grand a year. You want to make that kind of money, you got to be good at something. You got to be really educated at something, maybe partly lucky. You got to put in 50, 60 hours a week. That kind of money just don't come easy. But to sit around and put all that extra effort in for a few $100 there and a few $100 there, it's like don't play this short, low money game. There's no big rewards in this. But people don't want to listen, and I think every day it's the same opportunities that you say, well, stop making other people rich is the big thing you see, right? Memes go around. Stop making other people rich. Stop busting your butt for this corporation. You're making them rich. You realize that you could also make yourself rich just busting your butt at the corporation. I've been an entrepreneur for 20 years, and this game's not for everybody. I've seen a lot of people go start their own business, and they ran right back to the corporate world. This is a 7-day-a-week gig. You don't get to tune out. There's highs and lows. You got to deal with recessions. Some people just aren't built for this game. So, why not just stick it on your corporate job and bust your ass? Come in early, stay late, be the go-to person, climb the ladder, get them to pay for more education, get your tenure working well for you, and make a jump somewhere else. You can still make a boatload of money working for somebody else. There's this negativity that working for a corporation that you're making everybody else rich. Let's not forget, you're trading your time for money one way or another. So you're doing your job and you're getting a paycheck for it. But if you go into work every day saying, oh, dumb, greedy corporation, I hate my co-workers, everybody sucks, I'm going to roll in right at 8 o'clock and leave right at 4:59. I got this saying where you do the minimum, you get the minimum, but usually you get less. So go in and put the same amount of extra effort that you would put into all those side gigs into your main job and see if you can turn that into something more. Especially in this market where there's a worker shortage. Every company is looking for that highly dependable, reliable person that's not going to call off every Monday. They're not going to call in sick on Friday. They're not going to show up late. They're not going to miss out on all these things. They come in and say, I want to help you grow. People are paying good money for that right now. And they always will. They always have. It's just easy to sit around, listen to your family and friends talk about how bad their company is. If I look at the most successful people around me, none of them ever talk like that. None of them. Not my lawyer friends, not my doctor friends, not my Fortune 500 friends, the people that left corporations to go become entrepreneurs, become millionaires. None of them ever talk like that. Stop paying attention to the people who haven't made it. Start looking at the behaviors of the people who have made it. And never sit around with somebody and say, God, they live a life that I wouldn't want to live. I should listen to them. Look at the people that you say, man, I would switch places with you, and analyze the behavioral traits and the things that they do to succeed. It is such a big difference, but we get so caught up in kind of following the bottom of the pack, and then we end up at the bottom of the pack, and we can't figure out why. But anyways, I know if you need the money, you got to do a side gig. I get it. I know people that were working 40, 45 hours at their main job and, working in a restaurant at night to pay their school loans down. And they got their school loans paid off, and then they went and bought a house. Nothing wrong with that. I just think sometimes we get caught up in this, social media hustle, grind, side gig, that you got money right in front of you sometimes. That if you just put everything into it, it might actually work. And then when you move on to the next job, you can get even more. It's like the people who get into relationships, for example, and then only give it about 65%, and they're distracted by other people, and maybe they're thinking about dating other. Like, you gave this relationship 65%, and then you can't figure out why it didn't work out. It's, sometimes that stuff, even if you give 100%, it's hard to make it work. It's like, how do you stay married, for example, if you only put in 65% of effort? I don't understand why you won't maintain friendships or family or anything giving a half-ass effort. We do that with our jobs. We don't take the career seriously. And then we try to figure out why we don't get the raises and the title bumps. And you wake up at 35 years old and you see, some of your peers are light years ahead of you. Yeah, because you didn't really give it your all. But that's the world we live in right now. We want to do less, but we expect more. Look, if you just take a look around, tell me where you see that working. Show me the people who are doing less and less and getting more and more. You might find some, the incandescently brilliant, the top 1% of the top 1%, and the lucky. And then there's the rest of us who just have to put in the work, make the sacrifices, and make things happen every day. But if we don't do that, we're just not going to get it. So, hope I elaborated on that. I got several other DMs I got to follow up on the same topic. But I'm going to do more of a series on this because I'm going to use my own story, how I climbed out of the gutter and worked hard, educated myself to go, make some money and build a decent life for myself. But for me, it's always been about going all in. If it was tech, I'm all in on tech. If it was growing this business, it's all on this business. Next business, going all in on this one. Almost at a point of obsession, like tunnel vision, where I know what I need to achieve, and I don't want to get bogged down and distracted with these other things right now. For this project right now, got to go 110%. So I'll follow up more on this. Look at your job right now and say, hey, I'm in this job. How do I get to the next level? Have you ever asked your manager or the president of the company, how do I get to the next level? What do I got to do to get to the next level? Do anything. And then go do that. And if they don't give it to you, you go somewhere else. But there's opportunity likely in front of you right now, especially if the larger the company you work at, probably the more opportunity. Then again, small companies, you can climb fast too. Man, start thinking about it. Don't go spend 10 hours a week to get $200 on some Craigslist side hustle when you get caught up in a passive income scam, when maybe you just need to spend the extra 10 hours at your job every week. Maybe that's going to help you make a lot more money in the long run. Don't forget, we got to work until we're like most people anyways. You got to work until you're 62, 65 years old. From the time you get out of college, assuming you went to college, you're going to work 40 years. What are you going to do for 40 years where you can make a decent amount of income, where you don't hit that peak at 40, 45 and your income starts to fall? Talk to people that try getting a job at 55. Life ain't that easy out there. So maybe you should double down and become an expert at something. People tend to pay you more for that. Anyways, that's all I got for this one. I'm going to catch you on the next one.